Our guest. All right. Hi, Alex Clark, artist and art director. How are
And
you?
comic creator and child book writer.
Yes.
Hey, Eric. Hey, Keegan. How's it going?
I think it's children's book, Eric, not child book.
Child book,
Child
children's
book.
book, child book.
I don't
Child
think
book.
you. I don't think you read many child books as a child.
Hey, I assumed all writers wrote the books only for me, so it was singular child book, not children's book.
Okay. All right. How are you today, Alex?
Good. I also have no clue what an NFT is, but
Boom. All right. So yeah, go back to
So,
season
so
4. Make sure
check it
you.
out.
Yeah, check it
Yeah.
out.
yeah, it's the episode before this one, Alex. And you'll be like, oh, now I get what NFTs are. Or now you'll be like, wow, those guys are dumb. Both of which are true.
Yeah.
I doubt that. I doubt that. Usually, when I'm at work and something is way over my head, I go, "Can you talk to me like I'm four? Like just like I'm a toddler."
He did. He talked to us like he was 4, like
Yeah.
we were 4,
Like we were four.
and also like he was
And
4. It was very
He was
confusing
four.
for a while.
yeah.
Uh,
Right.
He kept on going timeouts. He's like, timeout. And then
no,
like,
no,
we were like,
no,
why?
no,
He's like,
no, no, no. Okay. Uh, Alex, you're here to talk about a comic that you are coming out with next month.
Yeah. Yes, I am. Yeah. Comic book. Weird. It's called Lost in the Shuffle.
Hmm.
It's a comic that I've been percolating on since 2010, 2011, but I finally said, screw it. I just need to put this thing out into the world. So I'm actually going to launch it on Kickstarter in February.
Oh, cool.
no, cool.
Tell me about the synopsis. Give me a synopsis and
Sure.
maybe how the project started.
Yeah. So, synopsis. The idea, first of all, I have it planned out as a 12-part like graphic novel. So I probably will be working on this thing part time for the next like 50 years.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, so the idea is that these two idiots, so they're dumb comic book guys as well. So
Okay.
best friends for a long time. One of them is kind of at his last leg. He has a bit of a gambling problem, and
Wait, is
he,
this based on us? No. Do they have a podcast?
Is this autobiographical? Is the
not yet.
next question.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Because Eric has crippling debt from his gambling addiction.
Oh, nice.
We didn't. We have to edit that out.
You're like, no, don't say that.
Okay, okay. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So he has a bit of a gambling problem. The idea, because I'm in the great state of Ohio, the idea was like he goes into a gambling situation with the local like Midwest mob, like mafiosos of like middle of nowhere, and loses like a $35,000 game, and he's screwed. His best friend, who's kind of the wild child of the duo, is like, I have an idea. And his idea is to rob an armored car delivery. And literally, it goes completely awry. Everything that you could imagine goes wrong does. And they actually go on the lam. So the main guy, his name is Quinn. Um, his dad, so it's kind of a weird like father son story, but his dad is actually kind of like a Bill Gates person who lives out in Portland, and so their thought is, oh my gosh, so the mob is after us, the feds are after us, we're screwed, and the only person that can help us is my dad, who I haven't talked to in 6 to 8 years. So let's get in your car and let's head towards Portland. And along the way, they meet up with new people. It's kind of like inspired by Shane Black and Edgar Wright movies, but kind of follows along almost like a Wizard of Oz tale. So
Oh,
it's like we're going to pick up people along the way. We're going to encounter crazy people. Shit's going to hit the fan. Things are going to get weird. So yeah, that's basically the idea for the whole entire thing. But the first issue really kicks off everything that could go wrong does, and it starts the journey to try and get out to Portland to have their dad save them somehow.
okay.
Yep.
Hmm.
So that's it's
Sounds like a good story.
yeah, so
Yeah,
when I
so
Eric?
so did you come up with the full concept of this before starting putting pen to paper, or
oh
was this kind of like
yeah
time
years ago
lagging?
years ago I was just thinking about the idea. When I actually came up with the idea, this will tell you how old the idea was. I actually envisioned a young Jack Black and a oh my gosh, I can't remember his name, but like that era of like 2010, 2011, like, Jack Black is the crazy best friend, and Quinn is kind of like an Adrian Brody type,
Oh,
like tall, lanky, and kind of, so that's how old this was. So I came up with the idea, I like started it, and then I just never finished it.
okay.
Uh, so I kind of dusted this off last year and thought, I really should get back into it. And I just started writing. And I've never really been a writer. Like I've always written things here and there, but I've never written. And so I just started writing, and I wrote the first like 5 or 6 chapters and just thought, okay, this is a thing now.
Oh,
So
cool.
I have the whole thing outlined. I've only written like 5 issues.
I see. That's neat.
Oh, cool.
And you drew
Are
the
you
whole
like
thing yourself too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been an illustrator for a long time. I'm a creative director by day, but illustrator by night.
Hmm.
Uh, so the idea here was let's just like, knock this thing out. At first, I was just going to pencil and ink it, and I was going to try and find a colorist to help me out with it. And
Yeah.
honestly, that was one of the weirdest, just trying to find a colorist who wasn't asking for $75 a page. So I
Yeah.
said, screw this, I can do it. I've been doing illustration forever. So it's taken exponentially longer than I want it to,
Hmm.
but I kind of I'm a little bit of a I like to keep it close to my chest. So I'm not a control freak by any means, but I really like where it's going.
Yeah.
And then I called up a buddy of mine who I've known for years, who was actually he was actually my roommate in college, and we went to art school together. And
Oh,
he's lettering it, and he's never lettered before, but he's having a ball with it. So I got a bunch of friends, buddies who are helping out with it in various ways.
so he's never done lettering. The lettering looks really professional.
Yeah.
You can tell him. Yeah.
I told him, I said, this is killer, but he's a graphic designer. He's an art
Yeah.
director as well down in Florida.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Oh,
So
nice.
he probably looked up the rules. There's lots
Right.
of rules for this. Yeah.
There are lots of rules for it.
Yeah. I like the art. Now that you mentioned that you did the color, I like the color a lot. It's kind of got a mixed media feel to it too.
Yeah.
With like the halftone dots for like the news and the outdoors even.
Yeah,
Out
I
the
was trying,
window is like halftone.
yeah, I went out. I've done some. So most of my work is hand drawn, and then I scan it in, and then I digitally color.
Okay.
So some of the children's books I've done in the past, I've done with either pencil or ink or what have you, and then kind of digitally colored. So I've used a lot of like those old comic ways,
Mhm.
like a dying
Yeah.
dot, things like that, halftone dots, to kind of help. I'd be like, if I'm going to be coloring this thing too, I got to come up with some ways to like get through this faster. So
Cut.
instead of drawing like something outside, I'm like, ooh, look, a halftone gradient. Cool, that's great.
Yeah, yeah.
How come you decide, or how come do you prefer hand drawing over like computer art, or just that's how you grew up and did it, or anything like that?
Yeah, I hate to. I'm going to sound like an old fuddy duddy, but when I went to art school, we didn't really have a lot of. We were honestly just getting into like computer stuff. I remember in high school, it was like, this is called Photoshop, and people were like, which one, which version did you have? And I was like, it was called Photoshop.
The Photoshop.
Right.
Photoshop.
1, 2, 3. It was called Photoshop.
Yeah.
So yeah, most of the artwork that I have is hand drawn. The last children's book that I did, I said, let's watercolor this. It's beautiful, but man, it took me 18 months to get through just because it was all hand painted. So I have it's a Huion. It's like a Wacom, but it's cheaper.
Okay.
Little tip for those out there.
Wait, what's it called?
Huion, Huion.
Okay.
It's like a monitor / stylus situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I use that to do all the colors, and I've actually been doing more digital like illustration, like actually drawing things on it, but still I like the idea of putting pen to paper.
Okay.
I've got markers and paints and things all over my studio here.
Interesting. What do you have a scanner then that you
Yeah,
use?
I bought an 11 by 17 scanner a
Okay.
couple of years ago just to scan in comic art.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And then do you ever sell like original like the original pages? I'm just wondering.
I have, yeah, I've gone to a couple comic book conventions and had a table and sold
cool.
artwork, done commissions and sketches and things like that. So,
Nice, nice.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, then yeah, traditional is like
Traditional,
that
right?
that's one reason that it's good, right? Is like the ability to sell the originals.
Yeah,
and-
I was.
and-
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. And I think you get like the texture even from a scan. You get like the texture too. We had one guest who went on a rant about
Or,
digital art just being like the end of art, and he just went on and on and on and on. And
Psycho, what's his name?
yeah, Psycho.
Wasn't it Psycho?
And ironically, his name was Psycho.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he wasn't like a psycho about it. He wasn't a psycho until he.
Yeah. He was actually a very nice, calm dude. He's like, oh yeah, I love working with like new
Yeah.
writers, like because he's like the fact that I've got experience means that I can be like, hey, I kind of get what you're talking about. Let's make sure we get this.
But if you
And
draw
then
on the
he's like- and then
computer,
he's
I'll
like, I'm
kill
like,
you.
And then he's like, somebody's like, he's like, oh, can you draw this on the computer? He's like, I will end you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. Yeah, I was
No, it's Psycho actually.
Psycho. Yeah, insane. Not psycho, not insane. I was I watched a video of Greg Capullo a couple years ago. People were like, "Oh, why do you do everything by hand?" And he goes, "It's literally a secondary income for me to sell my artwork at shows." And I
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting, but it does take a lot longer, I think, than
Yeah.
just saving, clicking and pasting. I do like collage art, and I've been doing digital collages this week, and like I was just thinking about how long it would have taken to like cut everything by hand, and it still takes hours. I mean, but like
Right.
glue and, and scissors, it's like, yeah.
Speaking of secondary incomes, are there any perks for people going through your Kickstarter? Like, do they get anything if they donate besides a comic, or is there anything like that?
Yeah, I've actually got some really cool pledges. So because I don't really think of myself as being like anyone that anyone knows or anything really special, I have, I believe in the comic and I think it's a really cool idea. But I'm like, who am I? I'm really nobody. So I actually got a couple friends who are actually going to help out with artist edition covers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a run of 50 covers from each artist, and then if I have some stretch goals too, where we'll actually put their artwork in a pinup gallery for extra pages and then send prints out and everything else. So there's two local artists. One's Uko Smith, and if you look him up on Instagram, first of all, he's fantastic. He's actually a professor of sequential art at our local it's called CCAD, it's the Columbus College of Art and Design. He's actually professor of comic book art, and he's going to do a cover. And then also a buddy of mine, Brian Christopher Moss, he's also a comic book artist here in Columbus. He's going to do a cover. And then a friend who I've worked on projects before, Mark Mullaney, he's a animator and illustrator, and he's doing a cover too. So I've got some really cool pledges, posters, stickers. I've been doing a lot of like weird things lately, like, oh, I need stickers, I need bookmarks, I need buttons, I need pins. So because I'm a graphic designer by trade, I've been doing a lot of weird, fun, interesting things for the Kickstarter.
Oh, cool. That's neat. I'm just going to throw this out there.
That's cool.
Eric and I will do a cover for you if you want.
Yes.
Yes? Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Okay. Just to let you know, we're not artists, and in no way are we professionally, credentialed. We've never sold any of our art. In fact, we yeah, but I think it would turn out great, especially if Eric did most of it, and maybe I just did the ink and color.
Okay. I think it sounds like a wonderful idea.
Okay.
I think people would demand their money back and then some if I did that. So we'll talk about it.
Make it like the top tier of your Kickstarter too. Like it needs
like the $800.
Yeah.
I think we could get into that.
Yeah, we'll talk offline about that, I think.
Later.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of which, speaking of talking, this is season 5 of the podcast. You're kicking off season no, we were in season 5, so we're in season 6 now.
I'm so honored to be here, part of season 5.
No, we're in season 6.
And season 6.
We just started season 6.
We just wrapped up season 5.
We just wrapped it up with that conversation. Yeah.
We are.
Yeah. I had an awkward moment. We're moving on to season 6. That's how it's going to work from now. Yeah.
Was that the cliffhanger of season 5?
Yeah, it was. Will we do a cover? Answering it in season 6 right now.
Right. Stay
The
tuned.
answer is
Yeah.
no, probably not.
So you go and you do school visits? Have you visited the school for any of your kids out of curiosity?
Yeah, yeah. So I started doing children's books a couple, probably about 8 years ago, and I kind of fell into it the same way I fell into comic book illustrating. And yeah, I would do like little book tour visits with some of the local schools and stuff. It kind of all shut down. Actually, my writing partner Casey and I, for the children's books, we were driving to a school the day when the librarian called and said, "So we're putting everyone on buses. I guess this COVID thing is real." And they were like, "We'll reschedule in like 2 weeks," and I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay, great." And that, yeah, no.
never happened. Yeah.
Never again. So you say you visit your kids' schools though? Like, how do they react to like their dad being there? Out of
Uh,
curiosity.
because at the time my son was young enough, he wasn't embarrassed.
Hmm.
He was like, "Oh my gosh, daddy's a rock star," because these kids were like wanting my signature and wanting me to draw stuff, and I was like, "This is hilarious." Now he looks back on it, and it's like, "Gosh, you're a dork." He's 16,
Yeah, yeah,
so he's like, "Everything I do is you big dork."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Right. Yes.
Well, we think you're cool. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
think you're cool.
You don't know me.
Of,
Not cool,
I'm,
but I'm
I'm,
pretty cool.
I
Hey,
mean, not cool. You have a Batman poster and some
Right?
kind of action figure on your wall, but
you also said you like old fashioned.
but like cool in terms
Old
of this
fashions are
podcast, like
by definition cool.
definitely a rock star for in terms of illustration and making comics. So
I
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, yeah. But maybe not cool like the fonts. Yeah,
People like the fonts, I know, right? But you look at him now and you're like, "Oh, he's such a kindly old man. I love him so much." Henry Winkler.
yeah. Henry Winkler. That's crazy to think of. He looks nothing like the fonts.
Henry Winkler also wrote books too. He wrote autobiographical
I
books.
know. Everyone's got a children's book too these days. It's hilarious. Like you watch the news and it's like, "Oh, Jimmy Kimmel's got a book and Jimmy Fallon's got 6 books," and you're like, "Us
Why?
little guys."
Yeah, yeah. Do you mind talking a little bit about children's books? I mentioned this to a friend of ours, like, oh, you know, your art's like really colorful,
Yeah.
and it would like be great for like a children's book, and he got really offended, um, and like, and I guess that's a faux pas, but
Right?
but how is the experience of creating a children's book maybe different than a comic book or
Oh yeah.
illustrating? I mean,
Sure.
what are you thinking of that's different than illustrating a comic book?
I I have a friend who's a little bit internet famous for his artwork, and one of the things he told me is, "I can't do what you do." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, you make some wonderful illustrations, and the people that I follow you." And he goes, "I can't do sequential storytelling." He's like, "I
Mm.
can't make a story. I can't form a story sequentially." He's like, "All he does is pinups and illustrations, stuff like that." And he was like, "That's a tricky thing."
Yeah.
So when I've done children's books, it's different because you're obviously you're trying to get the essence of the characters in as little lines as humanly possible, whether it be
Mm.
facial expressions, things like that. You want to really tell the story quickly
Hmm.
because obviously kids have zero attention span. So the children's books that I've done in the past have been really wonderful experiences, but you're really trying to get the idea across. When you get a manuscript from a children's book author, a lot of times it's just the words. And so when it says like the little girl's in her bedroom, you're like, okay, what's the bedroom look like? All right, the girl, she likes ballet. Okay, she's got stuffed animals. So you have to world build.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to world build for these kids to make it feel like this is an actual place. I think with comics, I mean, I'm always looking at reference material. I'm like, okay, so these idiots are in a office building, and okay, what does a security guard look like from an armored car who's taking a bag of money to the ATM on the third floor break room? Oh God! So it's a lot of world building and trying to figure out like what that looks like and how you can do your own spin on it. But children's books, it's different. We the first two that I did were kind of for either like a nonprofit, and then the third one that I did, we actually did a Kickstarter for. successfully funded it, and then the last one that we did, we actually got a publisher. So self-publishing has been, you have the ability to do whatever you want to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a publisher, you've relinquished a lot of control.
Oh,
So they're going to put it in stores. They have their rules. You can do this. You can't do that. It's got its ups and downs no matter which way you go.
interesting.
If you were to give advice to, because we're dumb creators, you give advice to somebody who's new to either children's books or comic books, or even you said you're a graphic designer.
Yep.
What would you like give to like a dumb new person just starting out?
Dumb new person starting out. Man, I guess the biggest thing is you just got to get out there and you got to meet people and you have to wait for your moment to happen. For young kids, like my big platform for little kids is like, don't stop drawing, because you can actually have a job and a successful life as an adult doing something creative. I mean, geez, I work with like 60, 70 people who are all creatives in their own right. So that's what I tell younger kids, like, don't stop drawing, be creative. People who are getting into it, I say you kind of have to keep at it. You got to meet people, you got to network, and you really have to wait for your moment. I was at a tiny little comic book convention at a library, and I was sitting next to this lady, and we struck up a conversation because there was literally nobody there because they didn't market this event. And we talked for about 8 hours. And at the end of it, she was like, so by the way, I have my own indie comics company out of Baltimore. I'm actually here because my in-laws live down the street.
Wow.
Do you want to do, like, I put out anthologies. Do you want to do like an 8-page story? And I was like, yeah. And that was it.
Wow.
So that's how I kind of got into doing comic work, as doing stuff with her, because I was at the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I come from a more of a traditional background, so I'm not, I'm not on TikTok. I'm not doing dances. I'm not like really pushing myself out there like other people. But I guess you just got to keep going. I talked to a art director from a publishing house, and he's looking at Instagram. Like, he's out there looking at Instagram. He's looking for artists on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
because his job is to find those illustrators that match a manuscript. So post your artwork and post daily. If you post something that you drew last year and already posted, post it again, and tell somebody it's old artwork, because you're always going to find a new audience. But really, yeah, you just got to get out there, show people artwork. Probably the thing that really kept me going, I went to a comic convention in Columbus here one time, and I went around and I'm showing Daryl Banks, who's an Ohioan. I'm showing Kyle Holtz, who's an Ohioan, like, all this artwork. And one guy told me that my stuff was crap. And he was like, go home, stop drawing. Just, you're never going to make it in this industry. You're trash. And I was like, well, that sucks. And I was like really heartbroken. And then I went to Bernie Wrightson. And Bernie Wrightson was like, you got the stuff, kid. He was like, you should keep drawing every day because you've got the right stuff. And I'm like, thank you. Oh my God, Bernie Wrightson.
Do you think they planned that? Do you think they were like, you tell them they're bad, I'll tell them they're good?
Well, my thought is Bernie Wrightson, God bless. The other guy was Alex Saviuk, who was an inker on Spider-Man back in the 90s. I'm like,
okay.
All right, you can get out of here. Like, whatever.
Those inkers, man, they're grumpy. I gotta say,
Inkers are always grumpy. They're
Yeah.
they're like all those artists getting credit, but we're doing the real work. We're the people doing all the hard stuff. It's all to deserve it.
Yeah, we bring dimension to all of. Yeah, I always go back to was it Chasing Amy when Ben Affleck, the artist, and what's his name is the inker.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Tracer at a
You're a
comic.
tracer, yeah.
You're a tracer.
What a fun cliche. Cool. Alex, anything else that we need to talk about on your end? Like for your Kickstarter and about your comics?
Yeah. So Eric's got a question.
I would say, so you're gonna say here there is not gonna be a creative dance interpretation of Lost in the Shuffle on TikTok. You're not gonna do that because you don't do the TikTok.
But I would if it was gonna get people to back the Kickstarter. I would dance my ass off.
Okay, so make the top like $800 or $1,000. Be like, I will do an interpretive dance for each page of each
Right.
thing.
Yep. I'll do it. I mean, honestly, I'm still in the process of crafting the Kickstarter, like right now.
Okay.
I did some research, and it looks like I'm going to launch the Kickstarter on February 7th
Okay.
on a Tuesday. Um, the comic will start at like $10 for the comic and like a PDF, like a digital version of it, and go all the way up to like $800. I'm not actually done drawing it, so
For those specialty covers, you have to
Yeah.
have it go up that high. Yeah.
I know, right? So it's really going to cover printing costs. Really, like I said, I plan this as like a two-part graphic novel series. I thought let's just get one issue out into the world to see what happens. If you like buddy movies, have you ever seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, or there's a couple other movies that are like Shane Black, Lethal Weapon type style,
Mm-hmm.
buddy comedies. I love film. I'm a film buff, so I love Edgar Wright movies. These are the two guys for you. This is your comic. This is an adventure cross country story.
Yeah, we read the first 15 pages, and it was.
It's
I mean, it's surprising
it's
how many times it's
very good.
surprising. Yeah, it's for 15 pages, it holds your attention, and
Nice. Okay.
I'm assuming it'll be longer than 15 pages. So
Yes, it will be. It will be. And I owe this to my sister-in-law. She read my manuscript of this. She's a elementary teacher, but reads like she could be a librarian. She read this probably 5, 6 years ago, just the first issue, and was like, I need to know what happens. So
yeah,
I was like, okay, I have something. There's something here. If she wants to know what happens to these people, she became invested instantly. So February 7th, Kickstarter launches. It's going to start at $10, go all the way up to 800 because I haven't finished drawing it yet. So the highest one is you want to get drawn into the comic book and then have me send you the artwork of of that page. I will do it.
oh cool, cool.
Yeah.
Plus, you get a specialty cover.
Yes. I actually have some really cool stretch goals. I have some pretty, I don't want to say famous, but pretty popular on Instagram illustrators who are going to be part of stretch goals.
Oh, nice, nice,
Get like over the goal to the next round. Yeah, it's going to be good.
awesome. Okay, now we have to talk. We have to at least ask you what's your take on AI art?
Oh my gosh. I watched the thing just this morning and people were typing in like kitty cat in the style of blibbity blah. And I was like, you just.
So you're against it, huh?
Oh, heavens. Yes.
Okay.
Awful. Awful.
Hmm.
It's infuriating.
Okay.
Because I actually want to talk movies because it's always a big thing.
Okay.
Any movies you recommend? Just because I'm a big fan of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, fantastic film.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of Iron Man 3, even though same director. Sorry.
Right?
Yes.
But how many times have you watched it?
Iron Man 3, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Iron Man 3.
Twice.
Okay. Because when I watched it the second time and the third time, I was like, okay, all right. Yeah.
So like cinematography and storyline, I thought it was fine. I thought it was actually good.
Right.
But like making Robert Downey Jr. just like they did two things I thought upset me. One was like they did like this huge like payoff. They took like this huge payoff that was going to be the Mandalorian and kind of took it away. And so it literally just kind of like cut off the film at his feet right there.
Right.
The other thing was Robert Downey Jr. or Iron Man was just an idiot throughout the entire thing. He's like, I'm going to tell them where I live, and I'm not going to get any help whatsoever. And it's just like, no, you like this movie would have been over like in 5 minutes. And he's just like,
but that's the character. He's like an alcoholic, egotistical guy, and it's like storytelling 101 to take away the armor and see what the character does. I mean, that's why it's one of the best movies of all time. Honestly, has the same plot as Kiss Kiss Bang Bang too.
But Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was funny, and it wasn't like
they're
dumb
the same
for the sake of
movie.
being
They're
dumb.
the same movie.
Like, that's the
with the same actor.
The same problem I have with like the second of the new Star Wars films is like the fact that like every character is just an idiot. Like if each character just wasn't an idiot, like if the head person like just actually told them what they were doing. So they didn't have this horrible side plot, and then where they're just like, "We're not the bad guys because we didn't abandon the animals." Like, well, what about the kids? Well, we abandoned those guys. Just F them. They're not you. They walk on two legs.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, I'm like I said, I'm a big movie buff. I grew up on movies. I grew up on Star Wars. My dad he loved Star Trek, loved Star Wars, Indiana Jones, pretty much anything that's Steven Spielberg. I love the classics. Like honestly, Wizard of Oz is like I've always loved it, and so that's why I was like, if people go on a journey, like who do they meet along the way that's gonna help like support them and influence them? Edgar Wright does no wrong in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love old Shane Black movies like Lethal Weapon and stuff like that. Like I love that buddy. I was
Actually,
watching.
I take that back. Edgar Wright's The World's End. I didn't like that one. That was the one
What?
that I didn't like.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
my
like that one actually.
Did
I
you?
do too.
Yeah.
My son's favorite one is obviously Hot Fuzz. So
Yeah, that one's really good.
Yeah,
Scott
really
Pilgrim vs. the World, I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I just love. I'm a big
Yeah.
movie guy. A bit originally thought of this. I was like, I want to watch this movie. Like I thought of the idea and I thought I want to see this movie, and I thought no one's going to make this movie, so I'm going to make it into a comic book. So that's kind of where I started from. And I'm a huge. I mean, I'm a Batman fan. I grew up on Marvel, but honestly, like I'm a movie guy. So instead of doing superheroes, I want to do something new and different.
Cool.
That's cool.
No, it's a good comic where I'm looking forward to reading the rest. Sorry to mention AI. I felt like that was a little touchy. No, I actually I can say what is cringy is putting in an artist's names into the computer. That like to me too. So yeah, in terms of that, yeah, I think it has because I'm interested in the topic. I will be asking everyone on this podcast from now on, but I can see from the point of view of an illustrator that it's frustrating that somebody can just download all your art and make images that look like you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that kind of bothers me is I'm not that talented. So I look at some of the AI art and I'm like, that's really good. And for a computer program to do something that I think is better than something I could actually physically create, that just pisses me off. I'm like, oh, not only did you just type in something, but that looks better. And you're actually taking the work away from me if I were to do that. It's kind of interesting to me.
That's interesting because once you look at enough AI art, you realize that it's actually nowhere near what a human could do.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And you could generate a car and like a playing card and like two security guys with guns, but there's no way it could put all that cohesively into one image yet,
Totally.
Which is I'm looking at the cover of your comic book and there's just no way, there's no way it would hit that level of detail.
Right.
Yeah.
Some guy made a children's book and literally got every single page of AI art, and I was like, oh,
right. Yeah. I can say, like, if you're not using artist names, I find it more ethical. But then it also depends on the program that you use, because like Stable Diffusion just straight up stole images from everywhere, and the other, I think Midjourney is a little more ethical in how they source. They source copyright, but they get they get a subscription maybe. Or,
right.
I don't know. They're unclear about it, but it sounds like it's not the same process. And,
I didn't know that there were that many companies out there doing it. I thought it was like a little niche market, and then I started reading about it, and there's so many companies that have started their own AI.
There's really three. There's Open Dolly, there's Midjourney, and there's Stable Diffusion. But all the other companies are using Stable Diffusion's API.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that's open source.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, and again, like me personally, I would never put in an artist name. Like I'm gonna put in styles. I'm gonna put in, but it's an interesting topic right now in the world, and
it really is.
And it's interesting to get an illustrator's perspective too.
Yeah, because I follow so many illustrators on Instagram. I mean, it was like a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, that the entire Instagram feed was all AI with the big old Ghostbusters no through it. Like it was like no AI, no AI. I'm like, yep. People are angry about it. It's
interesting because you say like you can draw, right? And I'm just throwing this out there. Please don't take offense. I'm not. Your opinion is solid. It's like a good opinion. I'm on the fence. I don't know. Like I just don't know. But you can draw, and my brain cannot, like I can't sit in front of a piece of paper long enough to get um that out. Like it just can't do it physically and mentally. So it has opened doors for me personally,
Right.
as somebody with a huge imagination, to just be able to like
Right.
get it out there, right?
Sure.
So as I've been generating art, do you think like it's possible that there's like some form of AI art that is actual art, like it's beyond like some kid at home, like so maybe if I put it in terms of music, like there's people at home put on a beat and sing to it, and that's the music, right? That's music. Nobody wants to listen to it, but that is music, right? Versus like a full studio album by the Beatles.
Right.
There's a huge difference there. I think we're gonna find out that there's probably layers to
Oh, sure.
like how it's made or how it's prompted, but like I still think it's all. I mean, it's a little sketch,
It's. I think if you come at it from a illustrator or a designer's point of view, to them you're stealing. I hate to say this, like money and food out of their children's mouths
Mm-hmm.
because you are suddenly saying, "Oh, I can't draw, but look what I made by typing in something and
Mm-hmm.
finding something that worked really well." And for people who can't draw, they're like, "Oh my god!" But for other people, they're like, "No, no,
Yeah.
no." That's like you could pay somebody to do that, or you could find somebody to commission something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I see both sides.
I
My
do.
dad can't draw for the life of him. Yeah.
I do too. I went to art school, so I get the same like anti AI art. My friends aren't talking to me, like, and I just got really inspired by it because suddenly I can do like crazy things that are in
Yeah.
my brain and put them on, and they're visual, and it's like, oh my god, this is what I was thinking of.
Cool, right? Yeah, it's
Right.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I do. Yeah, I understand. I completely get it. There are bad actors that are stealing people like illustrators' work and teaching the AI that work and then making images, which is
Oh yeah.
crazy bad. That's just bad form.
Right. Like
Like,
it's
they should get sued.
unethical.
That they should
Right.
get sued. But
Right.
you yourself use reference photos for your art,
Yep.
and in some ways AI does too, and that's
Sure.
like the same thing. Where
Right.
that's where like my collage brain is like, it's kind of like collage in that way. But
Yeah.
like there has to be a way to like make an ethical AI, I think.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, I'm on board with the illustrators, but I'm also like I really like it, and
Interesting.
I know that it's wonderful for art therapy
Yeah.
purposes too. So
Very cool.
so and it's doing great things for people like
That's
whose dogs have died, and they're like, I want to see my dog in heaven, and so they make a picture
all
of
right,
their.
right.
Yeah, and that's like the stories that you don't hear. Anyway, all right, sorry Alex, to
Tangent. Tangent. I like it.
tangent. I like your opinion too.
Thank you
I
so
get
so
it.
much.
Yeah. So your Kickstarter February 7th.
February
uh
7th.
you like Shane Black movies?
I like a lot of movies. I watch a lot of movies. I even just introduced my wife to The Godfather the other day. She's never seen it, and she was like, "That was a long ass movie, but that was so good." I'm like, "There are so many good movies
Just
out there."
wait, there's a second one.
I told her, I was like, "Number two's better."
There's
She
a
was
second one.
Yeah, she was like, "Fredo sucks," and I was like, "Oh, Fredo going to get his." Oh yeah, don't worry about it.
And there's a third that you can skip.
There's
You can
not
skip it.
there's not really
You
a
can
third.
skip it.
Let's just don't mention the third one. Yeah.
Yeah. Just show her Scarface. Like, this is the third one.
Right? My little friend. Like,
Little bit.
his accent. Did he become Cuban? I thought he was Italian. What happened here?
It's the same accent. What are you talking about?
Right, it's the
Just-
same one. Yeah.
Just
It's like
lie.
Sean Connery in The Highlander. It's like, wait a minute. You said you're Spanish, but you're still Sean Connery. You've got no accent difference whatsoever.
Not at all.
I thought he was Egyptian in the Highlander.
No, he's supposed to be Spanish. He's wearing like
Oh,
a
he's Spanish? I
conquistador
thought he was
outfit,
Egyptian.
Oh, that's
But he
just
had a
when they
Japanese
met.
sword.
Yeah,
right?
that's so funny.
Yeah. They didn't try to hide his accent
It
at
wasn't
all.
meant to be a hit, though, right? Wasn't it meant to be like a bad movie that they just cranked out?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just
I
meant to
mean,
be a B movie
they made 2 sequels and a TV series, so
because the
it
first one
kept on
was a
going.
hit because they used Queen's music, I think.
They
Okay.
did. You're right. It's like Flash Gordon. Like, oh, Queen. Yeah, just have them do the soundtrack. It'll be great.
Yeah, yeah, and they nailed it too.
The best part of the movie.
Hmm.
Yep.
And if you believe the Queen movie, that was like when they were all broken up too, like when they
Yeah.
were doing that. Yeah, I apparently you can't believe anything in that movie.
So I've heard.
uh, hmm. Eric, you got anything else?
No,
Are you sure? Because for 2 seasons, I don't feel like we've talked to you for 2 seasons worth of a podcast.
I think we're good.
We're good. We're good.
Thank you for being our season 5 and season 6 guests. We'll see you maybe in season 12, but
Can't
we'll
wait.
see.
Yeah.
Well, that's
You too.
that's only a few episodes from now, Eric. Are you
I
sure?
know that's the problem. That's why I said
If we do 2
We'll see.
seasons per episode,
True.
let's just do 1 season per episode. I think that's
Sounds
probably
good.
a better.
That's
Yeah.
doable.
we'll see.
Are you yawning?
Yeah, right? He's like,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. This has been a long season, okay, guys? I've been trying to work hard through it.
Yeah. Cool. Alex, where can they find you online?
You can check me out. I'm on Instagram, Alex M Clark 78. Basically, you type in Alex M Clark anywhere and you'll find me because I had to do that because of all the weird other illustrators named Alex Clark.
Okay.
And then Alex